This memorial that we celebrate today used to simply be a memorial to St. Martha, and I think it's fitting, though, that the church in recent history shifted it to one of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, because it allows us to approach the mystery here from a different angle, and that is one of more of a collective family. Families can be complicated, they can be messy, and Mary, Martha, and Lazarus are all the things. But another way of seeing these three people lined up next to each other is also expressions of ourselves in different states in which we find ourselves. So I want to approach it from that angle, and the line I want to use as our basis is only one thing is necessary. This is what Jesus is saying to Martha. Martha's all spinning in her head and comes and complains, and he says, you are busy about many things, but only one thing is necessary. What is the one necessary thing? In the end, St. Augustine is going to say it's always Christ. But yet, our experience as those living the spiritual life is there is an infinite amount of things that will place demands on our time and on our attention. And the one thing that's necessary becomes the thing that sits on the back burner so many times. So when we look at Martha, it's all of the pressures of circumstance. Hospitality is a very serious thing in Judaism. And for her to fail in this exercise from a cultural perspective is a great offense. So the anxiety with which she's approaching her duties is not unjustified, but the conflict here is that hospitality is not the one thing necessary. And if hospitality, a good in and of itself, and Jesus never says it's not good, is getting in the way of her relationship with Christ, then now it's a problem. Martha, you're busy about many things, but only one thing is necessary. Later, when Lazarus dies, Mary is the one who finds herself separated from Christ. Grief is overwhelming her. Perhaps she's on the verge of despair because they had made their appeal for Christ to come. He didn't come. Their brother died. Nothing can be done now. And she's just collapsed. Where Martha is the one who runs out to the one thing that is necessary and says, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. There are times in our own life when our passions can keep us from Christ. And I'm not accusing Mary of participating in this passion, but she's becoming emblematic in her idleness and in her stillness in this moment of things like acedia, which is a disposition of the soul that no longer aspires to the magnitude of what God has called it to, who feels kind of heavy in its own person, where the pursuit of holiness, the discipline of the spiritual life, it just feels like a 1,000-pound boulder, and we don't move anymore. We don't get off the couch. We don't do the next right thing. I mean, even in my own life, like as one who on paper looks perfect because I go to Mass every day and whatever, it can be that perception of like, oh gosh, I have to make a holy hour today, and I just don't feel like doing it. Do I yield to that? Or do I say, I hear you, but there's one thing and it is necessary. And it's Jesus, and I'm going to run to him. I choose to do that. And then there's Lazarus, who in the same story is in a state of death, right? And death we know is a consequence of sin. And so the attraction that we all have to sin is at odds then with our dependency on the person of Christ for the fullness of life. And so when mortal sin has a role in our life, it means we're choosing a lesser good, something that's ultimately not good because it's killing us, over the one thing that is necessary. And what eventually happens when the tent of our life folds up, the end of our days, all the anxieties that Martha had that kept her from Christ, they disappear. All the sins that attracted us in life, they vanish. And the only thing that's left is going to be Christ himself. So what if rather waiting to the end of our life, today we decided to keep the main thing, Jesus Christ, who in the end is the one thing that is necessary.